Canelo versus Scull card. Here are my thoughts.
Push the weight and no flex. Flex alive is one in the six. With the runner boy, you nigga, no question. You would run a motherfucker high stepping. Hey, you never had a big enough weapon. Motherfucker never learned your lesson. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I'm a 88 pack nigga. I mean, day walker, drink blood, fangs out, full moon, motherfucker change like a hoe, nigga. I'm just a nigga from the hood trying to stack a little cheddar for the money.
Drew Titan Bros on deck. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. So we got this Fatal Fury card going on. Shout out to Turkey Al-Sheikh. He's really getting things done. And as it pertains to the sport of boxing, the jury's still out. These guys do well one moment, and the next moment they do things that enrage us. But for now, as a supporter of the sport, I'm getting what I want, and that's a lot of activity, a lot of boxing, and I'm only judging it day by day. So here we are. Canelo versus William Scull. William Scull, to the general boxing public, which is filled with a lot of casuals and things of that nature. They don't know who William Scull is, and that's fine. I'm not going to educate you on who he is. What you need to know is he's from the Cuban School of Boxing. That's all you need to know. And when you say Cuban as it pertains to boxing, already that's a one-up. Already, that's a one-up. The Cuban school, shout out to the Cuban School of Boxing. Very reputable. With that being said, I want to talk about this undercard because I finally paid attention to it. There's a lot going on. So I said, let me see what's going on this card. And it's actually not bad. All right. You can catch it on DAZN. DAZN's doing this thing. A lot of boxing on DAZN. A lot of boxing on DAZN. So if you're a supporter of the sport, you have your plate full. All right, a lot of boxing on DAZN. But we're here to talk about this card. All right, so of course the main event is Saul Canelo Alvarez versus William Scull. Mexico versus Cuba. This ought to be fun. I'm giving Canelo credit for this fight right here. Again, y'all don't know who William Scull is. Just do your research. Just do your research. I'm not going to educate you on who he is, but to the naked eye, they're saying, okay, this is Canelo win. Of course he's a favorite going in. Canelo can fight. I personally don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. It's boxing. It could be, but I personally don't think so because of the school of fight that William Scull comes from. But I want to talk about this overall card. The co-main event, some of you may have forgotten, but it's Martin Bakoli versus F.A. Jagba. Yes, the two African brothers will be getting it on. Both of them can crack. You don't want to be in the way of any punch that these men can throw. This one is not, I repeat, is not going to the cards. Last time we saw Martin Bakoli lost via stoppage to Joseph Parker. That was on the Riyadh season card. Joseph Parker's been on a winning streak as of late. I don't want to dive too deep into that. But he caught Martin Bakoli cold. Martin Bakoli was overweight, but he had gotten the call on days' notice to come in and fill a spot. And that's who Martin Bakoli is. He doesn't duck any smoke. Of course, it was a great payday. And you actually saw when he got into the ring, he was overweight. He was very overweight. He's a big, brawly guy by nature, but he was overweight. He's been enjoying the fruits of his labor. But as a professional fighter, although you fight at heavyweight at the heavyweight division, as a pro fighter, it is your job to always be ready. Unless you're a champion and you know what you're doing next. You know what? Let me retract that. You could be a champion and be training to fight an opponent for 3 months, and then your opponent could have an injury, and they have to bring in somebody rather than cancel the event because you're the name. They have to bring in somebody else for you to pound on, and if you have a good enough star power, it's not going to matter who you fight. That's Canelo Alvarez. But what you don't want to be is in a position where you've made a mistake and not be healthy, or not being able to think outside the box. You're training to fight a southpaw, for an example, then they bring in an orthodox fighter, or you're training to fight an orthodox fighter and what the opponent brings to the ring. In the week of the fight, he gets injured or fails a drug test or whatever. And now they bring in this guy as the backup plan, and he's a southpaw. You know what I mean? So you have to be ready at all times. All right? Even if you're a heavyweight, I'd like to see Martin Bakoli in the ring like around 280, because he's a big dude. I mean, coming in the ring 330 pounds, that's ridiculous. And he got stopped in the second round. That's just ridiculous. So now I follow him on the gram. Salute to him. He got the weight down. I hope that he's disciplined enough in between fights to maintain a certain weight. Hope the people around him can encourage that, and I hope he's receptive to that information when they tell him to do that. F.A. Jagba, he's a different physique. He's more of a tall, he has a LeBron James-ish kind of, wide shoulders. He's a big muscular guy. But he will punch your lights out if he connects. He will punch your lights out. Both of these guys can punch, and this is going to be an exciting fight for as long as it lasts. For as long as it lasts, it's going to be an exciting fight. This is not going to the cards. If this goes to the cards, I'm going to be shocked. I'm going to be shocked. But this is, dare I say, this guy's Foreman Lyle written all over it. But I don't think we're going to get that. I don't know, man. But we're going to see. I mean, refs today, if a fight like Foreman versus Lyle couldn't happen today. For you Johnny come latelys, and if you never saw George Foreman versus Ron Lyle, just YouTube it. They call it the elevator match because there was like 50 knockdowns between them, and George, came out victorious. But this on paper has that written all over it. But no, not when refs are jumping in and waving stuff off, or if they have unconditional love for a fighter on the floor, they're gonna give him a 50 count. Y'all know what it is, but I'm looking forward to that. Then we have the rematch between Jaime Munguia versus Bruno Saras. Yeah, so the Frenchman. Interesting. Jaime Munguia fights Saras after he fought Saul Canelo Alvarez. Went to the cards with Alvarez. Alvarez won. And Jaime, being the workhorse he is, he says, let me fight the stay busy fight so I can stay, hot. And getting there with Bruno Saras, and everything was going his way. Dropped him. I forget which round it was, maybe 1 or 2. And then Saras, who is not known as a knockout artist, lands something on Jaime, and Jaime never recovered, and he stopped him. And this was crazy. This was Bruno's first fight outside of France, I believe. He goes to Mexico and gets a win, a knockout win. That was crazy. Yo, listen, this is boxing, ladies and gentlemen. Things like this happen. Now, I'm not throwing Jaime in the garbage. He just got hit with a shot. That happens. And Bruno Saras, over 20 victories, he only has 5 knockouts. This guy's not a knockout artist. So Jaime should get it right. We're either going to say, okay, that was just one of those things, or it might be a situation where Bruno comes in with all this confidence, and, he might just have Jaime's number. Things like that just happen. We've seen it. Things that happen that wasn't supposed to happen. Vernon Forrest versus Ricardo Mayorga. Who knew? Who knew? Weird stuff like that. You never know. But popular belief says Jaime Munguia gets it right. Like, look, that was a mistake. I got caught. I never recovered, but I'm going to get it right this time. And I'm willing to bet the betting odds are being in Jaime Munguia's favor, just like the first fight. And but we'll find out, man. If Bruno is the remedy for what Jaime brings to the ring, time will tell. But I'm suspecting Jaime is the favorite in that fight. But we'll see. We'll see. But that was wild work. I wasn't even paying attention to that fight. I came home, I turned it on, and I'm like, oh, he's down. Look at that. Okay, yeah, and then landing in the fight. Boom! I'm like, whoa, hold on. In Mexico too? Crazy work. And then The fight before that will be Badu Jack versus Noel McCallan. I'm sorry for butchering your name, brother, but I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm not sure. I don't know pretty much who he is. I looked him up on BoxRec. They have a couple of opponents in common. Junior Makabu, whom I understand is Martin Bakoli's brother. I forget. That's what I heard. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. He has 2 losses, no draws, 27 wins, 12 by way of knockout. He's not the best puncher in the world. He's Armenian. I see that he picked up a few, a few vacant titles. The WBC Diamond Cruiser was vacant. He fought for that. And he lost that, actually. Then he picked up the International Cruiser. It was vacant. Picked that up. The Silver vacant WBC. Picked that up. And then the vacant WBC Cruiser. He picked that up. Now he's fighting Badu Jack. I don't know anything about this guy, to be honest with you. I really don't. But I know who Badu Jack is. And the reason why this is funny to me is because Jaime Munguia is a former opponent of Canelo Alvarez. Badu Jack at cruiserweight was an option. Well, Canelo thought he was an option. And if y'all remember, let me remind you, Team Canelo reached out to Badu Jack and said, hey, man, can we challenge for that cruiserweight title? And Badu Jack said, sure. And then Team Canelo says, okay, drop down 18 pounds. I remember this. Drop down 18 pounds so we can challenge you for the belt. Isn't that defeating the whole purpose of, Canelo challenging for the cruiserweight? He was trying to pad his legacy. He's trying to pad his legacy 100%. And Badu Jack said, how about I extend you the finger, the middle one, and while you're at it, why don't you fight your contemporary right there at 168 at the time, who was who? Which was David Benavidez. And he put the conversation out online and everything. So I just find it unique. But this looks like a pretty good card. I will be purchasing. I will be watching. And yeah. And when it's over with, I will review the outcomes. Now, listen, this main event, I know we're talking about Bud versus Canelo and all this, that, and the third. Look, Canelo needs to focus on the man in front of him, and that's William Scull. I mean, look, I know he's unknown, but I'm telling y'all, like I just said, no one knew who Bruno Saras was. All right? No one pegged him to beat Jaime Munguia, especially after he just went 12 rounds with Canelo. And this guy's not a puncher. That was supposed to be a stay warm fight, and look what happened. Those of you who are not paying attention to Scull, y'all looking forward towards Bud and everything. Look, I'm looking forward to that fight too, but you know what? Don't sleep on Scull. It could go quick. It could go quick. Canelo could get him out of there. That could happen. But I'm saying, Cuban school, and because y'all don't know who Scull is, that don't mean he's not somebody. All right? Canelo, he's a professional. Focus on the man in front of you. Take care of this business so you can get the Bud. But I'm telling y'all, don't sleep on Scull, because this is boxing, y'all. Remember what happened to Jaime. Jaime's in a rematch on an undercard to Canelo now, against a guy he was supposed to just wash. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. But y'all tell me what y'all think. Bronx on deck.
Move!